State your name and where you are located.
Yeah, so my name is Dee Gilmartin, and I am from Flower Mound, Texas.
Why are you in Flower Mound?
Currently in Flower Mound due to COVID. It is the town that I grew up in, but I moved away about 2-ish years ago to New York City for school. And unfortunately, this is my senior year, I got brought back.
So COVID sent you home. All right. What? Did you lose your job due to COVID? What jobs and where?
Yeah, so I wasn't necessarily let go from any positions, but a lot of the positions I was holding were within a theater company. So without an audience or a patron base there, it's harder to get paid. I still technically have those positions, but have not been able to start for a while with the theaters being closed.
Why were you in New York?
So I started in New York for school. I started my junior year at Marymount Manhattan College back in fall 2018. Since then, I worked up a good relationship with a theater company that I really liked and got offered a position to stick around with them after graduation. So that was kind of the plan, was, to graduate this May and then continue working for the theater through the summer.
Did you think you would be back in Texas post-grad?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, had you asked me pre-COVID, I would have said, a hard no. So this has all been crazy, kind of navigating a new normal, and how long do I stay here? How long is it acceptable to stay here and kind of regroup?
Will you say it was never my plan to be here post-grad?
Yeah.
Just to say grad come out of your mouth.
Absolutely.
So did you think that you would be back in Texas after graduation?
Being back in Texas was definitely not the plan. Post-grad was not what I was looking forward to at all. I really liked, my place in New York, the friends I had made, the positions I was holding within different companies. They were very promising as far as long term. So to see that all kind of shut down so fast was scary.
What are your plans here in Texas? Work, anything like that?
That's so hard. It's hard. At first, I thought, do I go and stock shelves? But, back in April and stuff, that was so scary, such a high risk of exposure within that position. I got really lucky in finding a theater that I've worked through middle school and high school. They asked me to teach online courses through Zoom, which isn't quite the same, but we're making it work however we can, and it's nice to still remain employed while we're all staying inside.
When do you expect to go back to New York City?
It won't be until the fall, for sure. It'll be late August, early September, and that's promising. The goal was to go back in July, but I'm realizing that needs to kind of get pushed back until there are jobs for me to return to,
So you're not going back because there isn't a job or it isn't safe yet?
It's definitely a mix of both as far as safety and job security goes. I would say that it's probably still pretty dangerous to be in New York right now. I wouldn't want to go back yet. But even if things got progressively safer without the theaters open, that's really my whole expertise. That's what my degree is in. So there's not really much for me to return to.
Why theater? What did you major in? Why do you do theater?
Yeah, so my major was in directing. I have my bachelor's in theater arts directing. And I was always really interested in it. I always kind of had to be in charge as a child. And through high school, I really liked, I had visions for how everything was going to go. Whether that be in the theater or outside. So we all kind of knew that I was the director type. I did my first 2 years doing theater education at Stephen F. Austin State University. Really great teachers college. I learned a lot. And in that, I kind of learned that education wasn't where I thrived the most as far as being a theater artist. So I changed majors to directing and transferred up to Marymount Manhattan in New York and began my training there.
Do you have a set date at all for the fall when you're going to return?
I don't have a set return date. I know that I'm not signing any new leases yet. and a lot of leases I'm sure will ask for like start of the month. So whether that's like the start of September, that kind of feels like the best estimate that I can give anyone.
This might be a redundant answer from you, but that's okay. With no date as to your return to New York, how will you keep doing theater right now?
That's so scary. It's hard to continue to do theater when you're not in, the city where it's a huge hub and everything is closed down. Entertainment, specifically, it's non-essential. Teaching these classes through Studio B, like I've been doing this summer, has really been helpful in kind of keeping that alive for me. I've been able to plan lesson plans around shows that I'm really passionate about, got to like listen to that music and provide it to children. So I'm offering them a service. They get to learn more about musicals maybe they don't know about, expand their knowledge, their repertoire, and I get to kind of keep my skills fresh by relaying that to them.
What is Studio B and why there?
Studio B is a very small 501c3 non-for-profit in Highland Village, Texas. They are a community theater, but they specialize in children's theater. And I chose to work for them because they were such a positive place for me to go and express myself. When I was a child in Flower Mound, I started going there around probably 14 years old. And so to have such a supportive environment for me to kind of grow into the person that I was going to be and explore theater in such a like free and exciting way definitely inspired me to support that theater and that community in any way possible. So I started teaching classes there pretty quickly. And now, whenever I can, I come and I teach just to be the positive mentor that I met at Studio B all those years ago. I want to make sure that every kid has that same positive experience there.
How will you conduct classes during COVID?
It's going to be really hard, but the way that I have planned my lesson plans to be COVID friendly is about a week before my class, I will send all of the music and all of the materials required for that specific show that we're going to be working on. And then the children will sing just a small portion of the show for me, and I'll be able to provide feedback, and I want to see that they really did their research on the show that I assigned them, stuff like that. But there will never have to be any in-person contact, which will be great. It'll all be done through sending materials through email, and then I get to watch their actual performance abilities through Zoom.
What do you hope the kids will gain while taking your classes?
I hope that they pick up a new skill set, not just through mine, but through all the classes, because I feel like most of us understand that the quality of the course or of the education isn't going to be up to par with in person. That's almost impossible. But we do have a little freedom in it being online where we can really send them any material that we're passionate about or anything that we want. And so I know that there's a lot of like music theory classes going on done by other teachers. My class specifies on audition prep, kind of getting them ready for in-person auditions when we can have them again. So I'm hoping that they learn a little bit more about versatility as a performer. They got to figure out how to adapt to situations, and I mean, what a better way than this. And on top of that, I hope that they come out of this just a little wiser, a little more well-versed in their craft when it's time to audition in person again.
Do you think your Studio B students are having a hard time during coronavirus?
Absolutely. My children, I know that they've been having a really rough time. And I mean, you have to think about it. A lot of the student base that we have at Studio B is elementary to middle school. So they're very young, and they're very impressionable, I would say. So to have a tragedy hit them like this while their minds are still forming, they're still trying to grasp like social constructs, and now they're stuck indoors with their family. That has a huge impact on a child's psyche. So I'm hoping that this is just a small way that we can combat that, get them feeling social again.
Are you okay during COVID?
What a good question. Am I okay during COVID? It's every other day, really. And it's been getting better now. I'm feeling a little more comfortable in my day-to-day, just not taking for granted the times that I get to leave the house. But some days are definitely better than others. I'll have days where it's hard to get out of bed because I just feel like the day's not going anywhere, we're stuck. And then I have other days where I use it as an opportunity to ride my bike, write in my journal, prep for these classes. And that's really the days that help the most, or the days where I set a new goal for myself that I wouldn't have done in regular circumstances. Because with school and work as busy as they are, I'm usually not, putting as much stock into self-care, and COVID has kind of forced me to put some hours into it. So I am grateful for that much. That has helped.
Do you know how New York is doing, or the theaters there?
Yeah, so New York is definitely at a worse, I don't know, it's all relative, right? But at a more dangerous point in COVID relief than Texas is. They're breaking their reopening schedule out into phases. And today is actually, I'm so sorry, I had a hiccup.
You can keep going.
So New York is dividing their reopening into phases. And phase 1 is going to be implemented today, actually. So today is the first day that some previously deemed non-essential businesses get to reopen, get to try again with limited capacity. We won't see theaters come back until phase 4. And we don't know when phase 4 is going to be. It's all relative on how many cases go up in New York when the phases are implemented. So phase 1 starts now. Hopefully, if it goes well in the next few weeks, maybe months, phase 2 will happen, and so on and so forth until the theaters open back up at partial capacity in phase 4.
Sorry, I don't know what they're doing down there. Theater has lasted through the ages, wars, 9/11, etc. Will the industry survive coronavirus?
Oh, the theater industry absolutely will make it back. I think we're seeing some really scary statistics, statistics of shows closing that we thought had plenty of money to stay open. And that, when you look at the headline, is a scary thing, like Frozen on Broadway. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which was going to star Laurie Metcalf. You see these big names and these big shows shutting down, and you think, is anyone really safe from this pandemic? But I think the important thing to keep in mind is this is all based on a company's ability to save money, right? Like when you think about Disney and Frozen, they didn't have to close. Disney had the money to supplement it if they had to. It was just a matter of how they're going to save the most money through this. I'm so sorry, I digress. The theater industry. I actually had a woman speaking to me at a protest that I was at just a few days ago and said, theater has survived so much, it's probably going to be one of the first industries to jump back with a vigor, right? Because we're going to see so much content that was written in this quarantine. I mean, playwrights, their job didn't stop. If anything, it became easier. They had less distraction to hunker down and really create some thought-provoking work. And so what I'm hoping is a lot of that floods the industry in September, October, and we'll get to direct it and produce some really exciting stuff that reflects what we've all been through together.
Do you think that you bringing theater to the kids in quarantine will help them?
I think so. I mean, it goes back to the idea of the mental psyche, right? Like, they have lost so much social interaction in the past few months. And when you're at that more impressionable age, your mind hasn't fully developed. Social interaction is key to that. It's key for emotional intelligence. And they've, lost out on months of that stimuli. And so I'm hoping that even if all my class does is put them face to face, kind of, with me, and I can give them a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of positivity, then I've done my job. I'm not looking for them to completely transform as artists online. I'm just trying to give them something to do to remain practicing and remain socially intelligent. It's more for the kids' mental state than anything, I would say.
Is that like an Amber Alert? That buzzing? Was that like an Amber Alert or something?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, wow.
Did an Amber Alert?
Yeah, it was.
Anyways. How do you think teaching these classes will benefit you?
It has definitely already started to benefit me just by doing research. So I got to pick music from shows that I like, and so to dive back into those shows has been really nice, been really helpful, and I learn a little bit more about a piece every time I dive into it. So to revisit something I thought I knew everything about, to teach to these kids, and then I learned something totally new and I have a totally different idea on the direction I want to take it, has been very beneficial. It's kept me very sharp as an artist, for sure.
Do you have a message for your kids going into these classes? Anything you want to tell them or say to
them? If any of my students are watching this, the goal, all in all, is to have a good time, right? I know that this has been such a sad past few months, and you're looking at these courses maybe as the same level of dysfunctionality as online school has been, and I get that, and in ways it will be. But we're not trying to make you guys overexert yourselves or stress yourselves out in these circumstances. That would never be the goal. The goal is to have a good time and to see familiar faces again, hear your beautiful singing voices, and just share art together, because that's what we've definitely been missing out on.
Do you have a message you want to say to theater professionals in New York or anywhere?
Yes, to all theater professionals across the country. We have to stay strong. Like I said, we're going to bounce back, and I think a lot of the American population is expecting us to bounce back with content that reflects their struggle. We are in no way supposed to cater to all Americans. We can only speak to ourselves in our own narrative, but a lot of us have been going through the exact same emotions these past few months. And so I hope that we are able to create content that validates the experience we've all been through, gives people maybe a little bit of comfort to know that they weren't alone in something like this. Yeah.
Do you have a message for the rest of the world about COVID or anything like that?
Oh, the rest of the world. I address the world. We knew this day would come, that the world would ask me what I trailed off. I think it's very similar to theater artists. I mean, we have to stay strong. We have to hold on to hope. I know it's so dumb to say, right? To be so hyper fixated on hope and positivity. And there are certain days where even it makes me crawl on my skin because I just want to sit and live in the sadness. And that's okay. But we, as many great nations, America was built on hope and on the idea that we can be better. And so let's see how hard we have to work to be better. And I think that goes for all nations in the whole world. What can we be doing within our communities to be better after this?
And then will you just say, theater will survive this, we will survive this?
I will. To prepare for my line. Suddenly I'm sheepish on my last line. I think the main thing to take away from all of this is that
I just need you to say that exactly.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it organic. Theater will survive this. We're all going to survive it.
Well done.